Hello, my name is Dr. Raka Vasant Daghade. I was born in Gwalior, MP, though I am basically a Maharashtrian. My father was a lecturer in fine arts. He worked in Madhya Pradesh. Hence, my earlier education was in Ujjain. Later, he got a government job. Hence, we moved to Lusaka, which is the capital of Zambia. It was here I completed my primary and secondary education, which was under strict disciplined school conditions. It followed Cambridge University syllabus. Hence, here I learned what education is all about, and I was very lucky to have been taught by teachers from various nationalities. Hence, I was exposed to many facets of education. Later, when I returned to India, that is Kolhapur and Pune, I further did my BSc, MSc, and PhD. In this process, I had a wide experience of variety of educational systems and was able to integrate myself as required. This taught me different teaching methods and structures to go into tertiary education, especially having been a mentor, tutor, and a lecturer myself. When I returned to India for graduation and post graduation, I realized it was a mechanical routine process which is completed by students to finally get the so called degree. I had to take up a job immediately after my BSc due to financial constraints at home. Hence, I joined a school, a secondary school in Kolhapur district. In this school, my approach was different from many of my colleagues, and I realized that students enjoyed my classes and they learned something at the end of the class, which was permanently engraved in their minds. Apart from teaching in class, I was also involved in preparing students for inter-college, inter-school quiz competitions, debate competitions, lecture competitions, science exhibitions, and also theatre. This helped me to interact with them at a very different level and at a more personal level. Teaching in school initially from 5th to 10th standards taught me to be very patient with students. This is also the best part of my teaching career. Today I'm really happy to be in touch with many of my school children, many of my secondary school students, and also with their parents even after 25 years. Later, after completing my MSc, I started teaching in Nauroji Wadia College, Pune. Then I have also taught first year engineering students in DY Patil College, Pimpri. I've also worked as a junior research fellow for nearly 2 years before getting a permanent job at Ferguson College, Pune. In Ferguson College, teaching undergraduate and postgraduate students was more challenging, but my initial experience as a school teacher helped me immensely to bond with the students. But soon I realized college students had no platform to work in a group or discuss issues. Their energy was being wasted and was not channelized for any fruitful purpose. Hence, in 1998, with my BSc students, we formed a club called as the Astro Club in physics for physics activities in Ferguson College. The aim of this club was to bring like-minded, academically inclined or academically oriented students under one roof to carry out various activities. Hence, initially we started with lectures, weekly lectures series, which was followed by exhibitions on various topics in physics. These exhibitions had no funding whatsoever, and the internet was also not available during that time. So students used to sit in the library for hours, and remember earlier they never used to do that. Then they used to hunt for matter for the preparation of charts. Here, apart from academics, their artistic skills also came into play. These exhibitions were a huge success as they were open to high school students, colleges, and the Pune public in general. The media also helped us for publicity, hence helping the students with their compulsory projects later on also made me interact with them more. Five of our students have got the prestigious KVPY scholarships, of which one was a national topper. Further extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities helped me immensely to bond with them. Some of the group of students, with my help, also took up guiding their juniors for the KVPY scholarships and preparing them for competitive exams like our NGPE, JEST, JAM, and so on. This is when Ferguson College was allotted the NGPE center also. As years passed by, soon many students joined the Astro Club, and we also formed our own separate library. Today, we have more than 800 books and around 2000 e-books in our library. The previous students who leave the college also have contributed to the club by donating journals like Scientific American, Nature Physics, and so on. And the library, unlike the college library, now started attracting more and more students, and the students started clustering around the library. From the main library, we have also managed to salvage many old books, which includes Newton's Principia, X-ray diffraction by Bragg, atomic physics by Bohr, and so on. We then introduced our own science bulletin, which was named as Dimensions. Of course, this name was proposed by the students themselves. The whole part of publishing Dimensions is carried out by students themselves, editing, publishing, and so on. This is a biannual journal, newsletter rather, and different groups of undergraduate students take part and they circulate it in the college itself. I would say the best part of the Astro Club was the formation of Frontiers in Physics seminar. This is an activity which started in 2008. It is an exclusive student seminar which is organized by the students themselves for the students, whereby about 150 to 200 college students take part annually. The entire seminar is managed by the students, including funding, its execution. Here, many junior students learn the skills of getting the funding, designing posters, iCards, even certificates, brochures, invitation cards, contacting the speakers, escorting them. Everything is managed by the students. I'm really proud to say that this seminar far exceeds the quality and outcome compared to many national seminars which are arranged by teachers even at university level. Care is taken that the speakers are of national and international repute. The new batch of students usually want to make the seminar better than the previous one. Hence, there is always an improvement and the standard is maintained. Till date, we have had 9 Frontiers in Physics seminars, of which 5 were national seminars. More than, as I said, around 200 students attend this seminar from 10 to 15 different institutions. This exclusive student seminar has inspired many to take up physics as a career and has molded them to face challenges in life also. We also organize public stargazing programs, meteor shower programs, asteroid hunt programs, eclipse and occultation observations. As far as asteroid hunt programs is concerned, our students have taken part in the International Asteroid Hunt program and they have also discovered 3 main belt asteroids which have been named after Ferguson College. In meteor shower observations also, we were the first to represent India at the International Meteor Conference in Ireland in 2010. Students have also taken part in social activities like popularizing astronomy among school students with their lectures and telescope making workshops. They also visit orphanages and teach them. Apart from physics, I've also tried to encourage students to take part in projects related to environmental science. This issue is very close to my heart, and with students' help, I'm trying to make a difference in whatever way I can. We also carry out tree plantation drive during the monsoon period and work on e-management on the campus. Presently, we are working on trying to install biomass plants using organic waste on the campus and water harvesting. I'm also hoping that the physics department energy it will become energy efficient if we install the photovoltaic PV panels. Let's see, maybe that can be on the agenda in future. Further, as many students carry out projects, they have also presented papers or in the form of posters and also oral presentations at national conferences, especially the National Space Science Symposium, NSPTS, and so on. And they have carried out wonderful projects and have earned KVPY scholarships. With this kind of exposure and background, they have been selected at various national as well as international institutions to take up masters and PhD programs. These institutions, I'm really proud to say, include the Oxford, Cambridge, Caltech, Purdue, Virginia Tech, Max Planck Institution, John Hopkins, Cork Institute, Cardiff. And in Indian institutions, we have Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Raman Research Institution, Harish Chandra Research Institution, TIFR, Ayuka. All these institutions had our students for their PhD work. Yeah, one of my past students, presently he is Dr. Ashutosh Zogrekar. He later took up chemistry and he's a scientist at the biotech startup in Cambridge. He's also a part of the Scientific American blog network. Another student, Abhilash Mishra, who is a Rhodes Scholar, is presently submitting his PhD thesis in Caltech at Caltech. He's the one who initiated the Frontiers in Physics activity, and presently he has started the Science Education Initiative activity with his classmates, and that activity is gaining a lot of momentum in Ferguson College. In this particular activity, our Ferguson College undergraduate students work as interns. They go to various low income schools in Pune, around 30 schools they have adopted, and they go and teach there for about 6 hours per week. And here they teach them science and maths. And before they go and teach them, their seniors train them as to how to teach maths or a particular topic, how to even they design the syllabus, what is to be taught, they design the examination system, they even have data regarding what impact their teaching has made on the students, which are basically from low income Pune Municipal Corporation schools. And in future, they would like to expand this activity to various other schools. So this is another initiative which our own students have taken from the physics department. After joining Ferguson College, I started researching material science parallel with teaching. And then during the course of my research, I had to change the PhD subjects a number of times. Later on, due to unavoidable circumstances, I also had to change the PhD guide. Hence, worked on different 5 to 6 different topics during my PhD under 2 guides. The PhD research experience was the most unforgettable learning experience in my life, which was spanning over 10 years, parallel with teaching in Ferguson College and home responsibilities. This helped me to be exposed to many areas of experimental physics and handling various kinds of equipment. The PhD experiences helped me to be very patient and think of new innovative ideas for students' projects and learning methods which I was able to implement in their project work after completing my PhD. Presently, as far as research goes, I am only involved much with undergraduate community. So I have done a lot of major and not done a lot of major research contributions like the people in the university do. I have published a couple of papers in conferences and in journals with my students. Presently, I have one PhD student who is working under me, and I have 3 ongoing projects of UGC BCUD. I have completed 3 ISRO projects also, 2 major projects. International Astronomical Union has also given us a project. I further also had an opportunity to work with the EMRC, that is the Education Media Research Center in Pune, and I have recorded about 12 lectures for television. They have been already telecast on the Gyan Vahini of Doordarshan. After EMRC lectures, I was also offered to do a science magazine program on radio, which was aired. It was Pune Akashwani Productions. I have also published papers in IIPT convention and at other national conferences, as I mentioned. In college, I have fabricated reflector telescopes, with students' help, of course, a photometer also. Then presently, I am busy in setting up Ferguson College Observatory. I was also involved in fabricating a celiostat with the help from Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bangalore. I have designed some experiments on my own, like measurement of solar constant, observation of Fraunhofer lines, measurement of limb darkening effect in the sun, measurement of temperature of heated sources, total eclipse demonstration, and so on. Presently, I am also busy in writing two books, namely Meteor Observations, a hobby, and project writing for UG and PG students. Apart from these activities, I have other responsibilities in the college also. Like I had coordinated a certificate course in astronomy and astrophysics way back. I'm the center coordinator of NGP presently. I was the center coordinator of NSEA. Then I was a coordinator of campus upkeep committee. I was also a member of the internal quality assurance cell of Ferguson College, member of the National Accreditation and Assessment Council College Committee. I've worked in NSS. I was a member of the Library Committee, then member of the Advisory Board of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Exploratory, and presently I have been nominated as a member of the Academic Council of the Autonomous Ferguson College from this year. Presently, I'm very busy with the TARA project, which is in collaboration with the BlackRock Observatory of Cork Institute of Technology, Ireland. Here, our college telescope will be robotically linked with the BlackRock Castle Observatory telescope, and we will be remotely handling our telescope and their telescope, and hence both countries will take part in this project. This is an international collaboration. This will be a unique facility at college level in India. For this particular project, ISRO has given us some grants. Even the Rajya Sabha member, Honorable Vandana Chavan, has given us 20 lakhs. And in a couple of months, we hope to have this remote observatory with a dome as an international collaboration. My other achievements include the R. Chandrasekhar Award of the Indian Physics Association Pune chapter for Best Project Guide. And the second award was given to me by the Uttar Bharatiya Sangh Pune as the Best Teacher Award. Finally, I feel I've done my due by evolving many students from their stereotype routine of um, becoming a graduate into multifaceted personalities with good civic sense, good social responsibility, and I think I've imparted good moral values into them. I still have a long way to go, and in the next semester, as the head of the physics department at Ferguson College, I have many dreams to make physics department of college as one of the best in the country. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The topic we are going to cover today is tools of an astronomer. Tools of an astronomer. But usually when we talk about tools of an astronomer, that means basically we will be thinking about the telescope, which is the basic tool. Telescope, which is widely used as a tool. Apart from telescopes, nowadays we also use photometers, CCDs, spectrometers, and so on. But today we will start with just the telescope. Now, before we start with the telescope, why do we need to use a telescope? That you have to understand. Why at all we need a telescope? Now, if we look at any object with our eyes, please remember our eye has something called as the iris, and inside the iris we have something called as the pupil. Now, the pupil is actually a hole in the eye through which the light goes inside and forms the image of the retina after passing through the lens. So, the pupil is actually collecting light. Collecting light means collecting the light photons. So, the pupil is responsible for that. Now, if you look at the human eye, the human pupil is less than 1 millimeters in diameter. Less than 1 millimeter in diameter. That means all the light which we see the entire world, you look at the moon, you look at the sun, all the light from these objects enter our eyes through the pupil whose diameter is hardly 1 mm. Now, the pupil diameter can change. The pupil diameter can change. It can become large and small depending on the light intensity. So what happens is when the light intensity is large, the pupil becomes small so that less light goes inside. And when the light intensity is low, for example inside the house or in the shadow area, the pupil becomes big. The muscles loosen up, the pupil becomes big, and it allows more light to come inside. So pupil size can change, but on an average we say it is maximum 1 mm of diameter. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if the size of the pupil is 1 mm, we can collect so much light with 1 mm of the pupil. Now, why do you need a telescope is that the telescope is able to collect. Why do you need a telescope is that the telescope is able to collect more light. Just to give you an example, suppose you have a bottle here. You have a bottle. Rain is falling, suppose. light diameter through which photons can be collected. So more photons, the intensity of the image becomes large and you can see further and further objects. That's why we use a telescope. So basically we use a telescope to collect more light. Now this collection of more light is like a funnel. So you have this collection and then here you can have your eye. So that's why we use a telescope basically to collect the light. Now these telescopes which are used to collect the light are of two types. Number one, refracting telescope and reflecting telescope. Please note down the spellings. Refracting telescope, reflecting telescope. So the refracting telescope uses the principle of physics, that is refraction, bending of light, whereas reflecting telescope uses the principle of reflection of light. So the earliest telescope which was designed by Galileo, here we have it in our classroom. This particular telescope was designed by Galileo. Actually, Galileo did not himself design the telescope. Earlier, during those times, people used to make glasses. So lenses were quite common in the European countries. The rich people used to use these glasses for reading because they were the elite people. But these lenses, what Galileo did was he used a combination of lenses and made the telescope, and he was the first person to observe the celestial bodies with a refracting telescope. So today first we will talk about the refracting telescope. Here I would like you to look at the diagram of the refracting telescope. What is happening in the refracting telescope is the principle of reflection. So you have the lens. Now before I go to the lens, let's look at the prism. Everybody has used the prism sometime or the other. You have the prism. Light passes through the prism and it bends. Everybody knows that the light bends towards the base. So when white light passes through the prism, remember white light is made up of many colors, many wavelengths. So they bend differently. We say the index of refraction for different light is different. So they bend at different places. Now this prism, if I invert it like this is the base of the prism, the light passing here will bend here. So if I join the two prisms, what I will get is something called as the lens. So here I have two prisms, here I have formed a lens. So this is what is happening. When light passes through the optical lens, it gets focused at one particular position, which is called as the focal length. And this particular focusing of the image is formed here. Object is at infinity. This image is formed here. And now this image acts as an object for another lens. This is called as the ocular, or it is nowadays called as the eyepiece. So this image acts as an object for the second lens, which is called as the eyepiece, and then you magnify that your eye is here. So basically the refracting telescope, the length of the refracting telescope depends on the focal length of the objective lens and the focal length of the eyepiece. So this will be your length of your telescope, total length of the telescope. So this is one form of telescope. The next form of telescope was designed by Newton. Everybody knows Newtonian telescope. So in the Newtonian telescope, what Newton thought was, he thought that if you want to collect light and focus it, you don't have to use the phenomena of refraction. Because the problem with refraction is that because the index of refraction of different wavelengths is different, the wavelength of light, the light wavelengths used to end up at different places. So you will have one color here, another color here. This is called as chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration means when white light passes through the lens, different wavelengths get focused at different places because the wavelengths are different. Hence, they get separated in a way. So that is called as chromatic aberration, which you cannot avoid in a refracting telescope. Now, if you want to get rid of the chromatic aberration, you need different combination of concave, convex, paraconvex lenses so that you erase the chromatic aberration. And this proves to be very expensive. That's why refractive telescopes are very expensive because we have to get rid of the chromatic aberration. On the contrary, if you use the principle of reflection, you can still make a telescope. That is called as a Newtonian reflector. In this particular process, you have a reflector. The mirror is here, which is front coated. Front coated means the light does not pass through the glass. The silvering is done. The light rays come from far. Look at the second picture, please. You will see that the light is coming from infinity. It is falling on the reflector and getting focused. Now, in this particular telescope, what is happening is the light, because it does not change from one medium to another medium, it is going from the air, getting directly reflected from the reflective coating. It is not passing through the lens. Hence, there is no chromatic aberration involved in a Newtonian reflector. So, Newtonian reflector started becoming very popular. Then the refractor telescope, where we have to get rid of chromatic aberrations. Now, in a Newtonian reflector, these light rays get focused here at the center. So, you need another mirror here so that this light which is getting over here, you have to bring it out here, and then here you can have your eyepiece. So, a small problem with this telescope is that all the light which is going through the Newtonian reflector gets focused onto the secondary mirror. This is called as the secondary mirror, and this is called as the primary mirror, or it's also the objective. So, the primary mirror is collecting light, focusing it onto the secondary mirror. Secondary mirror is simply reflecting it at 90 degrees. You have an eyepiece here. Now, this particular eyepiece, you can have your magnifying lenses here, and you will get a larger image. So, the problem with this telescope is that you are pointing the telescope in one direction and you are looking at it in the perpendicular to the object you are looking at. So, this is a little difficult to handle. On the contrary, a refracting telescope is much easier to handle, but very expensive. So, most of the telescopes which are available in the market for amateur people are the Newtonian reflectors. The next thing I would like to talk about is the electromagnetic spectrum. Everybody knows the electromagnetic spectrum extends from gamma region to radio region. So nowadays we also have something called as various other types of astronomies which are called as non-optical astronomies, whereby instead of using optical radiation, we use